Picture this. It's 2 o'clock in the morning, 200 miles off the coast of Alaska. The sky is black. The wind is screaming at 40 knots, and waves the height of a 2-story building are slamming into the side of a 60-foot fishing boat, one after another, and down below deck just a few feet from the hull, a fisherman is asleep. Not passed out, not knocked unconscious, asleep. The kind of deep, steady sleep most people can't get in a silent bedroom on solid ground. How is that even possible? Here's the thing most people get completely wrong. They assume those men are just tough, that they grit their teeth, ignore the chaos, and pass out from exhaustion. But that's not it at all. Sleeping through a 20-foot sea isn't about being fearless. It's about a system. A combination of physics, engineering, and routine that's been refined over 100 years. There are 3 layers to this. The first explains why the boat doesn't simply flip over. The second reveals the technology quietly fighting the ocean while the crew sleeps. And the third is something almost nobody expects. By the end of this video, you'll never look at the ocean the same way again. So, let's start with the obvious question. 20-foot waves. A boat smaller than the waves hitting it. Why doesn't it just roll over and sink? Most people picture a wave like a wall of water charging across the ocean, slamming into the boat and shoving it sideways. But that is not how most waves actually work. In open water, the water itself is not traveling forward. It is moving in a circle, rising and falling in place while the energy passes through it. Which means a boat sitting in a 20-foot swell does not get hit by it. It gets lifted by it. Up one side, over the crest, and gently down the other. A wave being tall is not the problem. The problem is a wave that breaks. When a wave's crest collapses and the water finally does start moving forward as a solid mass, that's when a boat can get knocked flat. And that's exactly what these vessels are built to survive, because a commercial fishing boat is not shaped like a bathtub. Deep in the hull below the waterline sits the ballast, the heavy fuel tanks, the engine, the keel, and a fish hole that can carry tens of thousands of pounds. All of that weight sits low. And low weight does one thing extremely well: it fights to keep the boat upright. A properly built fishing vessel can be rolled past 90 degrees, massed in the water, and still fight its way back upright. Naval architects designed for this on purpose. They call it the angle of vanishing stability, and on a good boat, it's brutally high. The ocean can knock it down. The boat just refuses to stay down. But staying upright is only half the battle, because a boat that's constantly rolling 30 degrees one way and 30 degrees the other isn't a place anyone can sleep, no matter how stable it is. So fishermen don't just rely on the hull, they actively calm the sea around them. And the way they do it is something most people have never seen. Look at the side of a serious fishing trawler in a storm, and you will notice 2 long poles called outriggers lowered down and out from the boat like wings. Hanging from the end of each one, dragging deep underwater, is a heavy metal vane. Crews call them the fish, or flopper stoppers, or paravanes. And here is what they do. The instant the boat starts to roll to one side, the vane on that side bites into the water and resists being pulled up. It is like a person throwing their arms out to keep their balance. The result is dramatic. Those vanes can cut a boat's rolling in half, sometimes more, turning a violent lurching ride into something a body can actually rest in. But the paravans are just one piece. The bigger move is controlling which direction the boat faces. A boat hit on the side is in danger. A boat facing into the waves is far safer. So in heavy weather, crews deploy a sea anchor. It is essentially a giant underwater parachute attached by a long line to the bow. It catches the water, drags, and pulls the front of the boat around to face directly into the oncoming waves. Now the boat takes each wave head on, riding up and over instead of getting shoved sideways. Combine that with an autopilot holding a steady heading and an engine just ticking over, and the boat settles into a rhythm. Up, over, down, up, over, down. But here is the question nobody asks. What happens when one wave does not play by the rules? Picture it. It's 3 in the morning. The boat has been riding the swell for hours. Everyone below has finally drifted off, and then a single rogue wave, steeper and faster than the rest, breaks right across the bow. The boat slams down hard. Anything not tied down goes flying. Water explodes across the deck, and for a few seconds the boat heels over so far that the men in their bunks are nearly lying on the wall. This is the moment everything is built for. And it's why no fisherman ever sleeps with everyone else asleep. Surviving a night at sea doesn't start when the storm hits. It starts long before, with a set of habits that look almost obsessive until the one night they save your life. The first is the watch. On a working boat, someone is always awake. Always. The crew runs in shifts, 4 hours, 6 hours, rotating through the night, so that no matter what the ocean does at 3 in the morning, there is a pair of eyes on the radar and a hand near the wheel. The men sleeping are only sleeping because someone else isn't. The second is the bunk itself. Look at a fisherman's bunk and you'll see a strip of heavy canvas or a wooden board running along the open edge. It's called a lee cloth, and it does one simple critical job. When the boat rolls hard, it stops the sleeper from being thrown out onto the deck. Without it, every big wave would launch you across the cabin. With it, you're held snug in place and the rolling just rocks you deeper into sleep. The third is securing the boat for war before the weather arrives. Every loose item gets stowed or strapped down because a flying toolbox in a knockdown is a weapon. Hatches get dogged shut and sealed watertight, so even if a wave buries the deck, the water can't get below. Fuel and weight get balanced so the boat sits exactly the way it's designed to. By the time the first big wave hits, the boat is already locked down tight. And here's the part that surprises everyone. Ask a fisherman who has spent 20 years on the water whether he sleeps better at sea or at home, and a startling number of them will tell you the same thing. At sea. Because the human body is extraordinary at adapting. The same inner ear system that makes a landlubber violently seasick will, after a few days, quietly recalibrate. The motion stops registering as a threat. And then something strange happens. The constant rise and fall of the boat, the deep hum of the engine, the rhythm of wave after wave, all of it becomes a kind of lullaby. Fishermen describe being gently rocked to sleep by a storm that would terrify anyone else. Some say they sleep harder out there than they ever do in a still, silent bed on land. The first night back home, the bed feels wrong. Too quiet, too motionless, the most violent place on earth, and they sleep like children in it. Not because they've beaten the ocean, but because they've learned to move with it. So the next time you see a fishing boat heading out toward a storm, remember what's really happening on board. Those men aren't gambling with their lives. They're sitting inside 100 years of hard-earned knowledge, riding the waves, getting some of the best sleep of their lives. Now I want to hear from you. Would you ever spend a night on a boat in a 20-foot sea? And if you've worked on the water, what was your worst night out there? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If you learned something today, hit that like button and subscribe for more. I'll see you out on the water.